Hi guys, so I have with me here to unbox today the ZTE Nubia 17. This is their latest flagship mobile phone from them, so it's 5.5 inches, powered by a Qualcomm Snapdragon 835 processor, a very healthy 6 gigabytes of RAM, and 64 gigabytes of internal storage there. Now it's dual SIM. It has a 3200 mAh battery that supports Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4 technology. And on the rear, two cameras. One's a 12 megapixel, the other is a 20 megapixel camera. And then on the front, we've got a 16 megapixel selfie cam. So let's get this one unboxed here, check it out in greater detail before my final review. So this one I got here from EU Direct. Now, as the name suggests, that this retailer, it came via Europe. You can see this posted with Royal Mail. So this one came via England. And I didn't have to pay, as a result, any taxes on this, which is great because I've been having a lot of issues with DHL's ridiculous document fees they've been charging as of late. I've had $200 mobile phones from China, and I've been having to pay up to 80 euros on them, which is just ridiculous. I understand I've got to pay my 21% tax, that's normal, but it's just their handling fees just getting out of control there. So I've included, of course, an adapter there, so that's going to be US to EU. Reasonably well packaged up here. And they also have included there a case with it, which is great. So this looks like to be one of those tempered glass protectors, which it is. The phone, of course, I'll put that aside for just a second and see what else we get in here. So I'm not too sure what that is at all. It's all in Chinese, of course. Be yourself. There's our SIM tool. And here we have a USB to Type-C cable in red. It's quite nice. It's actually got a little clip around that. And the 3.5mm to Type-C adapter that we're going to need if you want to use your 3.5mm headphones. And here is the charger. This is rated to 12 volts, 1.5 amps maximum, so that's Qualcomm's Quick Charge 4. Just pull off all the protective plastics that are on this that you normally have. Typically this is just to protect it when it's in transit so the paint job doesn't get all scratched up. There's even one on the camera there and on the front of the screen too. And looking at the weight, it's 172 grams, so it's not the lightest, but of course it's got the metal build on it, so that's why it's a little bit heavier. But so far, I mean, it feels really good in hand. And it is 7.95 millimeters thick. Now that's not where the camera is, that protrudes a little bit, you can see. And that comes to then 8.8 millimeters, so quite thin. So on the rear, we've got dual cameras. The one on the right is a fixed main camera, which has an f1.8 aperture, 12 megapixel sensor. And then the one on the left, which has a slightly larger lens because it's got 2x optical zoom, is a 23 megapixel sensor with a 2.0 aperture. You can see next to it the two-tone LED flash, and then below is our rear fingerprint reader. So the front-facing camera is a 16 megapixel sensor here. You can see the earpiece to the right of it. And left of the earpiece is the proximity and ambient light sensor. Right down the bottom, that's where you'll see the home button, which sticks out with that red circle. Left side of the mobile, you find the dual SIM tray here. Now, no microSD card support, unfortunately. So it takes two nano SIMs, and they have used a rubber seal that's around the SIM card there to help keep dust out, which is great. On the bottom, the Type-C port, loudspeaker, and microphone. The fingerprint reader on the rear does sit in a little bit, so it's not flush with the rear there, so it won't be prone to scratches. However, that camera will be because it does protrude by about 1 millimeter or so. Buttons on the right side, these are made out of metal. Now if you do give it a good hard shake, you will hear a rattle. And also notice that the glass is 2.5D, that it does have curved edges. Lastly on the top, secondary microphone, IR transmitter, and this right here you can see is the antenna line, which is along the whole top of it. So the body is all made out of metal, and it does feel really great in hand. So let's get this powered on. Small little haptic feedback vibration. And we'll check the boot time. Now, I'm not too sure whether this is going to have Play Store installed on it because it is a Chinese mobile phone. Normally that is missing, so you will have to find out a way to install that. Quite a lengthy boot up logo animation. Okay, so you can see that Play Store is installed on there. Wow, have a look at these left and right bezels. They are what I would call bezel-less. Almost. I mean, that is touching right on the border there. That is really good. Very nice. Just give you a close-up of that. You can see just how slim those left and right bezels are. But I have noticed something here that you can see along the very edge of the glass here, these vertical lines, which is just a minor, tiny little complaint there. I guess that's something to do with the manufacturing process to get the screen so close to the border there, to the outer housing. So the hardware navigation keys at the bottom, you can see they do have a backlight in them, but it's very hard to see, just a tiny little red dot here. The main home button, that also has a light behind it. So swiping up will bring up all of our typical toggles here. So you got your brightness control and everything like that. I've just put it into manual mode at the moment, so let's have a look how dim it can go. So it dims down very low, that's barely legible, so that'll be great for nighttime use. And then the maximum brightness is pretty much currently overpowering my camera settings. Now swiping from the right here brings up what they call the command center. That's just telling you your reminders and everything there. So a quick way of just getting a quick overview of all your things there. Smart travel. There seems to be a few bloatware applications on here. I mean, we've got all the Google apps, which is great to see because I was a little worried that this ROM would not include Google Play Store on there, as some others have mentioned that it didn't come with Play out of the box, but at least this one does from EU Direct. Now, there are some things in here and tools that could be considered maybe as bloat. Well, there's just various different applications in there, backup application, but it's not too bad so far because I do see a lot of these Chinese mobile phones, some of them come absolutely cram-packed full of bloatware, and this doesn't. So it does have Android 7's split screen enabled. You're able to resize those screens, of course, just how you want. Exit out of them and control all of that as you would on other mobiles. So under the settings here, I can't seem to find any options for an over-the-air update system. I don't know whether it's because maybe my ROM I have here isn't the official Chinese ROM, and it could be disabled because this one, of course, has Google Play services all installed. So it is running Android 7.1.1, which isn't the latest version. I think it's 1.1.2. And you also notice that the security patch level is dated from February the 5th, 2017. So it's not exactly new. So as you can see here, the main keyboard is Google's Gboard, otherwise known as the Google keyboard, and Play Store is working. I've just installed Antutu Benchmark. So almost 160,000. Just bear in mind that benchmarks, of course, aren't everything. I believe it's more how the ROM is, the ROM performance, and how it games. Does it have slowdown or stutter? All of that I will find out, of course, in my final review of this after I've used it for a week or so. So the Nubia 17 has only one speaker on the bottom. It's a shame they didn't decide to adopt a dual speaker solution or do what other manufacturers are doing, and that is to use the earpiece as a secondary loudspeaker as well. So that's a shame there they didn't decide to do that, but let's have a listen anyway to how the speaker sounds. Alright, you can hear from that it's reasonably loud. It peaks up over 90 decibels, and it does have a bit of bass to it. For a single speaker, it's not a bad loudspeaker. So I have my fingerprint set up now for the rear fingerprint reader, and you can see that the mobile phone 2 is also getting covered in fingerprints. That's to be expected with this matte black paint job that it has. So let's have a look and see how fast it can unlock. Now you don't have to wake the device first. Just simply place your finger on there, and it unlocks reasonably fast. I mean, this isn't the fastest I have seen. There's a delay there of about 1 or 2 seconds, which doesn't make it as quick as some others. For example, the OnePlus 3T and the OnePlus 5, they unlock pretty much instantaneously. They are super quick. So this is lagging behind a little. Yeah, about 1 to 2 seconds. So here now in the camera application, I wanted to show you some of the modes we get. So there's various different ones. Here are kind of some of the, well, I would call more gimmicky kind of modes that you've got in here that a lot of people probably wouldn't even use in the camera family setting. Now in Pro mode, we get different settings here. You've got control of the shutter speed, white balance, ISO, and then the focus modes. Now it's not straightforward how you get to use the second sensor, but it's when you zoom I think it comes into play here, because if I show you the settings, go into more settings, you see this is where we're able to control things, and what it will do is, I've just found out along here that when you want to use the second sensor, it will do that only in the zoom mode, as far as I can tell, with the dynamic zoom there. So what it's going to do in Pro and Photo mode will automatically adjust to the best pixels when zooming. You can add time marks and things like that. So front-facing video quality, the maximum is 1080p. The rear camera, the maximum is 4K. And as I stated in the beginning, I don't actually think there's any optical image stabilization on this camera, but I will check that out in just a second. So there's just the photo mode. And when I zoom in here to 2 times, I think that's now swapped over. It would have gone to the secondary sensor, the auxiliary sensor, and the photo. Shutter rate seems quite quick on that. So I'm going to go out now and take a few snaps with the camera and some video so we can get a sneak peek at what the kind of quality is going to be. So this is the front camera now, which is 16 megapixels. What do you think of the quality? Seems alright. I mean, quite bright at the moment, of course, so very good lighting for the camera. I don't find it's too bad. I mean, I've seen worse, I've seen better, but overall, I think it's acceptable quality here from the front-facing camera. Rear camera sample now shot in the highest setting available, which is 4K 30 frames per second. Now you notice that the video is shaky. Anyone out there read Latin? All I can gather from this is it's something about Octavius. I have not studied Latin at all, so I can't read that. I'm sure there's some people out there that can, of course. So overall, the quality, I've noticed too that the frame rate, at least looking at the preview on the mobile phone, is quite choppy. It doesn't seem to be 30 frames per second either. So very disappointing. And of course, without optical or digital stabilization, the footage is, well, kind of ruined, isn't it, by all the shakiness. So you're going to have to use a 3-axis gimbal, some form of stabilization, or a tripod. Okay, so that's my hands-on there, an unboxing of the Nubia 17 from ZTE, and so far I must say that I really am impressed with the build quality. It's great. It's definitely a top flagship mobile phone, judging by the build. I love the fact that it's got almost 0 bezels left and right. That looks good, but if you look really close, I mean, here you can't see it. So normal distance, you look at the screen, you cannot see those tiny little black vertical lines at the very edge of the screen. Now, for some people that are very picky and fussy, that could be a bit of a deal breaker here. Now the fingerprint unlocking is, I would say, a little bit slow considering that this is powered by a Snapdragon 835. It takes on average about 1 to 2 seconds, sometimes around 2 seconds to read and unlock. At least you don't need to wake the device first. But compared to the OnePlus 5 I've looked at, which is the fastest so far, that one takes only milliseconds and this takes seconds, which is a slight disappointment there. Now the ROM on it seems great that we've got Play Store on there. However, I'm a little bit concerned that where are we going to get the updates for this ROM if the over-the-air system doesn't seem to be present at all. I can't find it. Perhaps because my ROM is like a custom ROM that's been flashed on there, and this is why it is missing. But that's probably going to be an issue later in the future. If there are important bug fixes coming out, then you're going to have to reflash one of the ROMs, of course, that has those fixes and then includes Google Play services. But it's great to have Play Store on there and not have to mess about trying to install it. Now, the cameras on the rear, no optical image stabilization, which means video quality is really not that great at all. You're going to have to walk around with a tripod or something, or use one of those handheld 3-axis gimbals to get stable footage there. I find that that's just a real disappointment for a flagship mobile phone to be lacking optical image stabilization or even electronic or digital. Just isn't great at all. Just like the fact that we're missing the 3.5mm headphone jack. That should be there, and that's going to be a deal breaker for some people. And then comes the price. Retailing for around, I think it's about $500 US, which is a lot more expensive than the likes of the Xiaomi Mi 6, which is a lot cheaper. That's only about $370 US, and basically the same kind of features. You've got the Snapdragon 835, and you have dual cameras on the rear. One of them has the optical zoom, and you can just click and use that one straight away. So similar mobiles, but quite a big gap there in the price. So I'll be back with the full review of this, which will include low light camera samples, my time on it with it, if I find any bugs or anything like that. Of course, that's going to take a week or two of use before I discover those kind of things. And also things like the call quality, GPS, all of that's going to be covered, and battery life, which is very important. So I do hope to see you then. Thank you so much for watching this unboxing and detailed preview. If you have any questions, please let me know down in the comments. Bye for now.